Hello, and welcome to our Digital Mail webcast. I'm Allison Hall, and I'll be your moderator today. The topic of today's webcast is innovative digital capture and delivery. We'll be discussing how to turn slow-moving manual or paper-based mail processes into high-speed digital data flows that manage your transactional mail, such as invoices, forms, orders, contracts, and claims, without any unnecessary expense and costly delays you suffer today. We have just a few quick items to go over before we begin. We'll hear from today's presenter, and then we'll open the floor to your questions. To participate in the Q&A portion of our webcast presentation, all you have to do is type your question into the Ask a Question text area below the presentation window, and then click the Submit button. You may submit the questions at any time during the webcast. We'll address as many questions as time permits after our presenters' prepared remarks. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to the icons at the bottom of your screen, including our social media widgets. Using these widgets, you can connect with Rico on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Please feel free to continue the dialogue and address any additional questions on our Facebook page. If you experience any technical problems, please visit our webcast help guide by clicking on the help link below the slides window. Now let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Brian Wallace, Senior Manager of Strategic Marketing at Rico.
Thanks a lot, Allison. I want to first thank everybody for joining us today for this webinar about Rico Digital Mail Services. And really, this presentation is going to be more about transactional mail. We're not talking specifically about the correspondence mail, the things that all come in through the mailroom, but we're going to be talking specifically about transactional mail, the stuff that requires some action from your organization. And we call this Rico Digital Mail Services because Rico has been providing mail services for clients, traditional mail services for clients for many years. And that traditional mail services really includes us taking in the inbound mail, delivering it across an organization, and then also handling all of the outbound mail. But this particular solution here is really focused on the transactional mail that comes into the organization that requires some level of immediate action. And what Rico is able to do is leverage people, process, and technology to expedite the delivery of this critical information so that it's quickly synthesized into the workflow inside the organization, and that organizations have more time to respond and react to this critical information as it comes in. So we're going to go ahead and start, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the service and why customers are interested in Rico Digital Mail Services, provide you a little bit of an overview of the solution, and then also talk about how your organization might be able to benefit from the service. As I said before, we call it Rico Digital Mail Services because the mailroom is really the first point of entry for a lot of critical information for a lot of organizations. And being able to intercept it at the mailroom and move it into workflows immediately is where customers have the best level of success in, reducing their amount of time to respond to clients and also move things through the enterprise workflows. So Rico Digital Mail Services, this is really a fully managed solution that's been designed to improve processes and centralize the capture, classification, and routing of critical information. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about bringing efficiency to legacy processes. As I said before, Rico has been providing mail services to clients for many years, and the type of mail services that we've been able to provide are very traditional in nature. They deal in taking the incoming mail and delivering it manually, sometimes multiple times per day. But some things that we need to think about as we talk about these legacy processes and things that we need to remember is that mailroom delivery processes are generally manual, costly, and sometimes they're very inefficient. What we would typically do in most mailrooms is the incoming mail comes in, we sort, we deliver, and like I said, sometimes it requires us to do it multiple times throughout the day. It is not as quick as being able to deliver electronically to somebody. Sometimes folks aren't in the same location we are when we have our mail center operations, so it requires us to somehow route via maybe interoffice mail. So there's a lot of manual processes that are associated with this manual process of mail delivery. As volume of mail grows, personnel requirements also grow along with it. We have a lot of clients that we work with who have spikes in their mail volume, and the only way to really address these spikes in the volume is by addressing it with additional people on site to help address that volume. So that's something important to remember as well. Another thing that we need to think about is that as response time can suffer because mail can only be viewed by one person at a time. When you're looking at hard copy mail and when you're physically delivering mail to an individual, it's very difficult for other folks to get a look into what's in that mail piece without it being captured. So it requires either the mail piece be copied and copies of that mail piece be delivered to somebody, or the information then has to be scanned and then delivered to somebody electronically. This puts a lot of additional work, additional burden on the workforce to be able to share information that is delivered through the mail. Paper mail processes require employees to physically distribute the mail in an ad hoc, non-repeatable workflow for their teams to review. This is a very common problem around physical mail delivery because there are processes, even though you might have very good processes in place, because of the nature of just business in general, it's very difficult to sometimes make sure that information is easily shared and moved from employee to employee or department to department. Critical mail is not ranked or prioritized any differently than regular mail, which subjects the company to late fees or penalties. And this is something to remember. I mean, this is kind of an obvious one. I mean, if you go to your mailbox and you take the stack of mail out of your mailbox, you're going to notice that all the most important things aren't at the top of the stack, and that physical mail delivery and these legacy processes don't lend themselves to being able to prioritize or put whatever's most important at the top of the stack. This is why a lot of clients are looking for ways to make sure that the most important information is quickly synthesized into corporate systems so that they can be reviewed quickly and they can respond to this information in a very strategic manner. There are also two other things that are really driving customers to look at their current mail processes and trying to bring some more efficiency to these processes, and it's related to compliance and collaboration. And what I'd like to share with you is some of the areas and some of the types of mail that customers are really focused to. It's the mail that has financial, legal, or regulatory implications. And when I talk about financial implications, I'm talking about mail pieces like invoices, checks, claims, payments, contracts, or orders, something that has to be handled in a very specific way because it has a financial implication to the organization. The other things that we also are really focused to are, and a lot of customers are focused to, are mail pieces that have legal implications, records or information that must be retained, information that requires immediate action by law. Those are things that obviously if there's any delays in the delivery of this type of mail, there are some risks associated with that. The other thing that is also driving customers to look at their mail processes and try to find ways to bring more efficiency to these processes is mail that has regulatory implications. And we have customers who are now receiving mail or that have credit card information, Social Security information, or personal information, and there's regulatory mandates that are requiring that this mail be handled in a specific way, and that customers are really looking at ways to minimize risk associated with the handling of that type of information. So we're going to show you right now, what is Ricoh Digital Mail Services? Well, Ricoh Digital Mail Services is a service that provides organizations with a sophisticated single-point capture hub for data that is critical to the organization. Now, I talked about this a little bit earlier in our presentation. This is a really unique blend of people, process, and technology. And when I talk about it being a fully managed solution, what I'm talking about is that this solution is actually managed by having Ricoh folks on site that are actually managing the process. Ricoh is going to work with customers to identify what transactional mail workflow can be improved by leveraging the digital mail solution. So in some of our engagements, we work with clients and we identify different workflow that could be improved by being able to capture the critical information that's coming into the enterprise and being able to take that information, capture it in our mail center, and have it routed electronically to the recipients. So this is something that we can work with clients to identify. Sometimes it's just very specific processes. Sometimes it's multiple processes that we're actually handling inside of a mailroom. The Ricoh Mail solution has been designed to help clients quickly synthesize critical information with line of business applications, enterprise content management solutions, and business process management applications. And this is important for a lot of customers because they've made investments in these systems, and being able to take that information that's coming into the mailroom, the hard copy information, the transactional information, and being able to have visibility to it in these systems provides the employees a lot more time and flexibility in how they respond to and how they react to that information. All right, we put this slide together here to talk a little bit about transactional mail and bring a little more definition to what we mean by transactional mail. And what we have here is a listing of the different types of mail that would qualify as transactional: reports, forms, claims, invoices, correspondence, contracts, orders, applications. These are the kind of things that we talked about before that have financial, legal, or regulatory implication to an enterprise. We don't really focus so much on correspondence mail. However, we have worked with clients to also capture correspondence mail inside of our mail center and route that information to users electronically. And I think there will be some growth in how we handle correspondence mail for clients because of remote workforces and being able to make sure that mail is deliverable to folks who may not be on the same, maybe not be on site. So show you here, a lot of these things come into an enterprise via mail, and the idea behind Ricoh Digital Mail Services is that where this information comes in the enterprise is the best place for us to set up a workflow so that that information moves directly to the parties most interested in that content. There's also, this information also comes into organizations via email, also comes in via fax. And really, we can use the Ricoh Digital Mail Services hub as a place where all of that information would be captured and then routed into workflows. So what we have here on this next slide here is a quick little illustration that kind of shows you what happens in this Ricoh Digital Mail Services offering. You see the transactional mail coming in over to the left side there, and you see the mail coming into the mail center. Like I said before, we've run mail centers for many, many years with many large clients, large and small actually. But we've worked with these clients to we've been kind of their point of contact as it relates to mail. So inbound and outbound, Ricoh's provided on-site services. Where this service differs a little bit, or is it basically it's an extension of our traditional mail services, is that we're now taking the transactional information, we're opening up the mail, and we're scanning it, and we're delivering it to folks electronically. And what we'll be able to do is we're able to give secure and instant access to this information to clients. This includes mobile workers, remote locations, and what it does is it really improves the amount of time that employees have to work with or can make better business decisions on how to react to some of this information. As you can see up there, there's a study that's been conducted that showed that response time was actually improved by 6 times or more using this type of method of delivery. As you see over there, we circled over there the mobile and remote workers. As I said before when we talked a little bit about correspondence mail, this is what's driving a lot of customers to make decisions on alternatives to traditional mail delivery, even, like I said, as it relates to correspondence mail, because they're trying to address the needs of these mobile workers and these remote workforces. So here's a quick case study. There's a customer we worked with that managed about 50,000 invoices every month at their corporate headquarters. The way that they traditionally handled these invoices is that they would manually enter this information into the financial software system. And then what they would do is take those invoices, send them off-site for scanning, archiving, and storage. This client here, it took approximately 3 weeks for an invoice to traverse the accounts payable process. which this was costing the customer about $8,000 every month. The idea behind this is a lot of customers don't know exactly how long it takes an invoice to move from receipt to payment. And by not knowing or having visibility to how long it takes to move through your accounts payable process, it makes it difficult to take advantage of discounts like 30-day discounts and 10-day discounts, things like that. So the idea behind this solution is that it would also give them better visibility to how long it would take to move through the process. It's really difficult to eliminate or identify clerical errors or inaccurate batching or coding of invoices because the actual hard copy invoice, once it moved off site, it was hard to match up with whether or not the information was keyed in correctly. So what it made it necessary for this customer to do was go off site and go retrieve invoices to match up to make sure that the information was correct. This process made it necessary for employees to really perform many tasks multiple times, put a lot of burden on the accounts payable staff. So what you see here is you have up in the blue, it shows you kind of a traditional manual process as it relates to invoice processing, where the invoices are received and it moves through a manual process of approval. And whereas the Ricoh Digital Mail Services solution is the mail comes in, it's captured electronically, and then it's made available immediately. So this it takes out a lot of the manual steps and obviously brings more visibility to these invoices through the process, and really addresses a lot of the challenges that we talked about in the slide that we looked at earlier in the presentation, the first slide that talked about legacy processes. So this is really about improving process, improving business process. We talk about it as a solution around mail, but it really is really focused to improving a business process. And if there was a study that was conducted that said that ineffective document-based processes have directly triggered serious incidents at 3 out of 4 organizations in the past 5 years. And inside of the study, it also showed that 36% of these customers failed to meet compliance requirements. It also stated that 30% lost key employees and 25% lost key customers. And one of the things that's important to know about broken business processes is that addressing the failures proactively can head off substantial financial harm. Obviously, to fix a broken business process, it's going to require some level of investment. But the overall cost of process failure is 10 times more costly. A lot of these broken business processes go unaddressed because truly affecting change requires C-level attention. Really, to truly make changes, it really requires a scope of responsibility to architect and execute the broad-based changes that are required to improve these broken processes. So improving the process. Now, we talked a little about invoice processing. That's the one that's highlighted in red. But we work with clients to improve some other back office processes like HR document processing, and then also some other front office types of processes like forms processing or sales order processing. But as I highlighted here, digital mailrooms really represent probably the best place to start if you're looking at trying to capture critical information as it enters the enterprise. The biggest challenge with improving a business process is not capturing that information early enough in the process for you to have good effect on improving the overall process. So I'd like to talk a little bit about structured versus unstructured data, and it's important for customers to understand the difference between the two. When we talk about structured data, we're talking about information that's very standardized in how it comes in. So a great example of structured data would be like a tax form, because the information is all going to be in the same place no matter what person's tax form you're looking at. It's all going to be structured very much the same way. When we talk about unstructured data, we're talking about things like handwriting, non-standardized structure, maybe poor quality originals. They're more difficult to extract from. The structured data is much easier to extract from because the software knows exactly where to go to pull that information. And so what we do inside of the mailroom is sometimes we capture the mail and we just deliver it to a recipient or department, but sometimes we're asked to take information off of the mail so that it can be indexed and it can be easily found as it enters the workflow. And so some good examples of structured data would be like a sales order form, because most organizations would use the same structure inside of their sales order form. Whereas a good example of an unstructured data might be an invoice, because they might get invoices from a lot of different vendors, and the invoices are all going to look a little different. The thing to remember is that regardless of how the information comes in, structured or unstructured, there's going to be various requirements, and all are possible. So down at the bottom here, you see deliver electronically to a department or a specific recipient. That's something that we can totally do, and it's very easy to do because we're not doing any extraction off of the document itself. Deliver electronically to the department with certain fields of the document extracted or indexed. That is definitely something we can do. Structured data, obviously, pretty easy to do because the software is going to do a lot of it for us. We'll have to do some quality assurance around making sure the right information is captured. Unstructured data, a little bit more difficult. There's definitely software that allows us to do extraction off of unstructured forms or unstructured information, but there are some situations where we actually do this for clients with somebody actually keying information off of the documents as they come in. Delivering electronically to a enterprise content management system for review, that's something we can also do with both unstructured or structured data. So I guess the thing to keep in mind here is that no matter structured or unstructured, it doesn't really matter. Depending on what the customer's requirements are, the client's requirements are, we can work within that. It's like I said before, it's applying the appropriate levers to deliver the outcome, people, process, and technology. Sometimes it's more technology, sometimes it's more people, but regardless of how we approach it, we're still able to deliver the outcome. So the value of integration, and this is what a lot of customers are looking for. Obviously, that critical information as it enters the enterprise, being able to integrate it with critical business information systems like an enterprise content management system or a business process automation system, enterprise resource planning system. These are things that customers like because it gives the entire enterprise visibility to this information as it comes in. So what we do in building a mail solution for a client, and when we're looking to do integration, it's a engagement where we're focusing on the workflow, and we're having our team work with the client, focusing on where they want the information to go and how we best can get it there. Okay. So where's the broken processes? There are a lot of different customer types that we work with around mail services. You got a list over here: customer type, healthcare, education, legal, finance, real estate. But where the real broken processes are, they're not they're not what we would call vertical specific. They're more departmental in nature. You're going to have broken processes in HR or call centers or administration, legal, IT. So this is where we really focus. And this is where we help customers identify what processes we can help them with. Like I said, human resources, here's a good example. In the mailroom, they may be getting transactional information that's coming in through the mailroom. We're able to capture that information, move it to the department electronically, give them the ability to do approvals, review, and not have to wait on a physical piece of mail. Okay, so this is really where we're going to focus. And so we focus on the department, and then we move to the next step, which is what transactional mail is common in these departments. The value of Ricoh Digital Mail Services. Now, we'll talk a little bit about without Ricoh Digital Mail Services. We've had customers who have invested in technology, possibly to capture solution, to start taking in information, transactional information, and move it quickly into workflows. It can definitely be done, and it's been done successfully time and time again. And we've worked with a lot of clients to help build those workflows and build those models so that they can benefit from this type of technology, capture technology. But when you're integrating something without people, process, technology, and it's really just a technology type of implementation. You've got time, support, infrastructure, communication, training, capital investment. These are all things that you have to consider because this can all impact the success of one of these types of capture programs. Solid processes are critical to the successful enterprise capture solution. One of the things that you have to remember when you are implementing something, a technology solution, is that you will sometimes have non-dedicated staff that's going to be trying to incorporate this into the use of their into their day-to-day business. You've got end user adoption. Sometimes you got challenges there because they may have done something differently before, and now this technology is now supposed to replace how they traditionally would have done it. And sometimes you may not have quick user adoption. So then you've got to do that comprehensive change management to help try to facilitate the adoption of this type of technology. And then the integration with line of business applications. We talked about it before, being able to get visibility to critical information in line of business applications, enterprise content management systems, very important to a lot of organizations. And sometimes they're challenged with integrating this paper, the paper that sits outside of those systems, and get it into these systems and make it visible for their employees and their users. So what we've got down at the bottom here is talk a little bit about how this particular solution is a little different. Now, what you've got is how it differs from a traditional technology implementation. This is a fully managed solution. The organizations don't have to invest in a lot of the technology and the software that's required to deliver the outcome. So as a provider here, as a service, Ricoh, their on-site team is going to bring that technology in and provide these services as part of their the mail services offering. It's pretty much a turnkey package. Really includes everything that the customer needs to achieve the outcomes of moving critical information into workflow. The service level agreements are really going to be in place to help make sure that the customer gets the outcomes that they're looking for, and then the service excellence methodology that Ricoh follows is going to also ensure that the processes that are in place help deliver those outcomes that the customer is looking for. Ricoh Digital Mail Services really is a on-ramp to getting into that line of business applications or enterprise content management systems. It's our expertise in workflow consulting and design. We're going to be able to help clients maximize their investments in their line of business or enterprise content management systems, and this service becomes extremely complementary to those investments that have been made. So kind of in summary, we want to talk a little bit about the value customers realize through a service like Ricoh Digital Mail Services. Obviously, first and foremost is the cost savings, reducing the labor burden, improve productivity when the capture responsibilities are managed by a third party and centralized. As I talked about before, distributed capture solutions, the integration of just technology as a capture solution can be customers can bring that online and be very successful with it, but there are definitely challenges to it. And this one here, this particular service basically helps customers avoid all of the challenges that are associated with integrating technology alone without having the other two pieces, the people and the process. Transactional, really the hardware and software are part of the investment that's made in Ricoh Digital Mail Services. And then IT does not have to support the hardware and the software. I mean, obviously, if we do some integration with line of business or enterprise content management systems, we will definitely be working closely with IT. But as far as the capture solution, those are all managed and administered by Ricoh and the on-site services team. Process improvement, improved processing speed with a centralized hub. It's a single point of intake, so all that information as it's coming into the enterprise, it's coming through the mailroom. We are intercepting it before it hits somebody's desk and is lost or misplaced and misses the workflow completely. Critical data can enter the workflow immediately, and that's where a lot of customers are looking for. Like I said, because one, it gives them the ability to act quickly and respond, but it also gives, like I said earlier, it gives employees and users more time to to respond when they have that information electronically, not waiting on the physical delivery or, the chance that that particular physical piece of mail has been delivered to the wrong person, and now the amount of time that they have to react to that piece of mail has been minimized. So this gives them more time to work with that information. And then security and regulatory compliance, it gives you now audit trails around by being able to capture stuff, hard copy information, and move it into an electronic workflow. Now you have audit trails on how that information was accessed, viewed, or utilized. And critical mail is handled in one centralized location, making it more secure, less likely to be lost or misplaced. Obviously, sitting on a desk somewhere, lost in the paper chase kind of thing, provides not only slows your process down, but it also puts the customers at risk. So those are just some things to think about as far as it relates to value of a solution like Ricoh Digital Mail Services. And really, as we talk about this and we talk about it in the context of mail, it is also important to recognize that this service is really around the transactional information that enters an enterprise, and a lot of customers are struggling with how to best take that information and move it into workflows quickly, be it mail or maybe a integrated solution. Ricoh is definitely capable of helping build those workflows, build and design and architect a solution that can help you with that transactional information. So that's pretty much it.
All right, great. Thanks, Brian, so much for your presentation today. We do have time for a few questions, and I see that some have come in. The first question is, with the trend in mobile and remote workforces, does this solution make sense for correspondence mail?
That's a great question, and I think we might have hit on it briefly inside the presentation here, but because you do have a growing number of folks who are working remotely, working from mobile devices, working off-site, not at the headquarters locations, it's very difficult to get a physical piece of mail to an individual who's not at the home base, if you will. So correspondence mail there's a digital mail solution is definitely a viable solution as it relates to correspondence. It's really about whether or not making the investment in the correspondence side is cost effective for an organization. It really depends on how much correspondence mail they have coming in. Where this particular solution has a lot of value to clients, and really the reason we really focus to transactional is because that's where it has the greatest effect on their investment and the return on the investment, because being able to get information as it comes into the enterprise and move it quickly through workflows really reduces the burden on staff, and also allows organizations to, as they are able to expedite the information that's moving through the enterprise, they're able to take advantage of that speed and move more information through respective departments. So.
Yeah, okay, good. So the next question is, what is the process for determining the right products, solutions, and services that are required to begin processing mail digitally?
That's a great question, and I think we started to go there a little bit on the slide where we talked about structured and unstructured data. But what we do in any one of our digital mail services engagement is we do a full assessment of what transactional mail we're trying to address inside of the mail center. And by taking a good look at what the customer is hoping to achieve, we apply different software solutions based on what the capture requirements entail. So when we talk about things that are really basic, where we're talking about just basic capture and delivery to an individual or department, it won't require a lot of sophisticated software. But we might be working with a client who has a capture requirement and extraction requirement that's a little more involved. So the software solution may change. So the good news is that we leverage kind of a comprehensive portfolio of different software capture products, and we would apply the appropriate ones based on the customer need. the on-site labor and the processes that we have in place on how we manage that incoming transactional content would probably be the same. For the most part, we'd be following our service excellence methodology. But as far as the software or the hardware that we would be using, there's definitely some variables there.
Okay, great. Thank you. So our last question is, if I already have a mail center on site, is it easy to bring a service like digital mail online?
Yeah, I think this particular service is very much an extension of our traditional mail services offering. We have been providing traditional mail services to clients for many, many years, and this is definitely part of our managed services. I would call it our portfolio of offerings that we're able to provide to clients on site. And mail is definitely a essential but sometimes not core business for a lot of clients. It's very important to their organization, but to apply a lot of personnel to addressing delivery and distribution of mail, not always at the top of the list for a lot of clients. So what we've done is we've provided these services to clients, things like mail services or run a print and copy center for a client. But this is really a natural extension of that. It really helps us. Work with the client to improve a business process. It's really, like I said, it's a core, essential, non-core type of essential non-core component of a lot of folks' business. But what we're able to do is really help them improve the business process, which is what a lot of customers are looking for, is taking this type of service and really getting more value out of it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again, Brian, for your presentation today. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for attending today's webcast. Shortly after the live event, we'll be sending an email reminder to access this presentation on demand. That concludes today's Ricoh webcast. Thanks to all of you for participating.